Creating success out of failure. Creating success out of failure.
I'm Jonathan Federa. I'm here to inspire you to hustle and grow your income while doing what you love. Just because you have problems doesn't mean you can't prosper. Just because you have tragedy doesn't mean you can't triumph. Actually, you should be taking advantage of that.
There's positivity in my pain. I took scarcity and turned it into strength. I always tell life, there's not much you can do to me where I won't make an obstacle an opportunity. We never lose, we only learn lessons. If you wanna change your perspective. If you don't know how to do that, we'll show you how right now. This is about to go down. You are tuning in to creating success out of failure. Creating success creating success out of failure. Out of failure.
Welcome everybody to Creating Success Out of Failure. I'm here with a friend of mine, Ryan. So Ryan, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit and then we'll go over what we're going to cover.
Hi, my name is Ryan Patient, and been in finance for a little over 10 years now, and looking forward to shedding light on a couple things about credit card debt, good debt, bad debt, etc.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I think it's very important, especially today, with all the stuff going on with how the pandemic affected and impacted people, with people's just lack of knowledge on what's the best way to do certain things, what's good debt versus what's bad debt. And, we see it a lot because we're trying to help a lot of business owners grow. And some of them, have low credit scores or huge credit card balances, which doesn't help what they're trying to do. So I think first and foremost, before we get into the credit card debt side of things, I think that everybody listening should always be monitoring their credit, good, bad, or indifferent. So Ryan, what do you use to monitor your credit?
Well, you bring up some really great points. Monitoring your credit is huge. And I personally, I use Credit Karma. I know that it's not the exact data that, traditional lenders use, but it does allow you to gauge where you're at. And, you can build off of that. And if anything pops up, like if there's, let's say you missed a payment somewhere, or somebody shuts down an account on you, it alerts you and lets you know almost instantaneously. And that's huge because then you can go back and either, fix it or, figure out what's going on.
Yeah. I'll tell you, the only time I ever missed a payment was earlier this year, and it was because it was a credit card I never used, and it had an annual fee. They didn't get in touch with me, and I found it a little too late. I mean, they reversed it, but it dinged me pretty good for the time being, and now it's back up, and I would have never known without Credit Karma. So monitor your credit, even if it is Credit Karma. Credit Karma tends to be off. It tends to be a lot lower. A lot higher than the actual scores in most cases. In my case, it's actually not. It's a reverse. And I only know one other person, and I think that was you, that, Credit Karma is actually low.
Yeah, that's right. It was me. So it's kind of funny that we both had that same issue.
Yeah. So let's go into, good debt versus bad debt, right? And then we'll talk a little bit about, credit cards and then what you do. So, I think a lot of people don't understand, or they think that having debt is a bad thing, right?
Right.
But I absolutely disagree. I've built a decent, lifestyle for myself using OPM or other people's money. So what would you consider good debt?
So what I would say good debt would be, like term loans. Obviously, you want to have a pretty good variety on your report. So whether it be, a mortgage, a car loan, things like that. Obviously, those are pretty basic. But term loans are huge, right? Even like a small personal line of credit, those are big. But also, it's very important to have credit card balances. You have to have a couple of credit cards that have high limits.
Yep.
Because that's huge, because that shows the lenders, whenever you go to apply or whatever it is that you're trying to do, that you can handle, a $20,000 credit line without maxing it out, right? So that's huge.
Well, yeah, something like you're getting into the whole debt to income ratio, and we'll definitely get into the mechanics of that because a lot of people don't understand. If you have 100,000, well, we could get into it now, and we'll go back to good debt, bad debt. If you have 5 credit cards, each with 20,000, and your total revolving balance that you owe is 80, is that good or bad?
That's definitely bad, right?
Yeah,
So, and I think you're talking debt to credit is what you're talking
yeah,
about.
correct.
So so anytime your balances start going up, your credit score is going to go down. Doesn't matter if it's a 10%, 20%, 50%, 80%. The higher the balances on the credit card, the lower your score goes. The lower the balances, the higher your score goes.
Got
It's
it.
important to make sure that you do keep those, keep those balances down. And it's kind of a myth that a lot of people tell you you're supposed to hold 30% balance on your cards in order to help grow your credit. That's really kind of counterproductive. If you pay
Okay.
it off on a monthly basis, that's the key. If you can charge it up, right, and then pay it off at the end of the month, that's what the lenders like to see.
Yeah, I don't know why people think that that's bad. I mean, I pay off all my cards at the end of every month, and I only use the cards for 30 days of float and to get the points.
Absolutely. That's what most people do is especially the business owners that I work with, they usually use it to get enough, points and, get a free couple of tickets, plane tickets out of the year.
Oh, I do. Yeah, I don't remember the last time I paid for a flight. Even my trip to Hawaii with a family of 4, I think I paid half. I paid for two flights, and it wasn't round trip. They were just 2 one ways. Everything else was covered by points. You
That's
know.
huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And then
And
go on.
I was just going to say, and all you're doing is you're just, instead of using your debit card or paying with a check, you're using, the credit card, processor's money, and then you end up paying it off at the end. You're using it as your own personal line, and
Yeah.
that's huge.
Yeah. I mean, if you have the right cards and you pay it off every month, you're essentially getting 30-day pays on everything. You're floating everything else with someone else's money. They're giving you the points. You get a whole bunch of free stuff, whether it's flights or gift cards or what have you, and you're leveraging other people's money. So yeah, and a lot of people get themselves in trouble, right? They get themselves in trouble, and we'll get to that in a second. But I do want to touch on the good debt versus bad debt, right? As a person and as a business owner. If you're an individual and you're buying a house, that's good debt. If you're, and getting a mortgage, if you're an investor and you're buying a house or a property, and that property is going to bring in a lot more income, than your mortgage and your expenses, that's amazing debt, right? You're essentially getting paid to use somebody else's money. Same
Yeah.
thing, flip it around. Like if you're a business owner and you need a new piece of equipment, right? And that new piece of equipment or or whatever you're using those funds for, that pays, or you increase your sales by more than what the debt, the debt payment is. That's increased cash flow that you did not have prior, right? That's how you build and leverage and scale. I think a big problem is people get a little bit too much in debt, or they use debt for the wrong things, you know?
Yeah.
I certainly wouldn't use debt to go out. Like I know somebody that unfortunately bought a Rolex, right? I wouldn't use debt to buy a Rolex unless you were flipping it inside the 30 days, which is very unlikely, and that you're making more than that, could have cost you.
Yeah. I would have to agree. That seems like a bad decision, right? So even if the person did sell it within, even 60 days or whatever, it seems like it's going to be a little bit of a stretch because it's just an item that you have. It's not producing money for your business versus what you just said. If you're, let's say I have a tire shop, right? And I get a tire machine that
Mhm.
allows me to do additional business, even if I technically am only making an additional, let's say gross revenue, it brings in an additional $1,000 a month, but with my payment and everything, I'm only, making an additional $100. But don't the lenders look at the total sales or the total gross income? And that's going to help you out in the future, right?
Yeah, absolutely. They want to see you growing your revenues, keeping good cash flow, keeping good balances, like anything else.
Right.
One of the things that I think is pretty unique and interesting is, if you guys don't know, Ryan works a big member of Sprout, and he does all of our simple interest term loans, right? And we've been very, very creative with how we've utilized these term loans. Okay, so we've been able to get people. What's the range, Ryan?
As far as approval, like total
Yeah,
approval dollar amounts?
yeah. Total
I mean,
approval.
yeah, anywhere from 10,000 to 100,000. I've actually gotten a couple of people approved for more than 100,000.
Yeah.
And the big difference is that we've had some people that come through and that need it for a couple of different things, but they have some existing credit card debt, like we talked about originally on those business credit cards.
Yep.
Where they were paying the minimum payments, and we kind of broke it down. And it was going to take them 30 years to pay off those credit cards.
Yep.
We got them set up on a lower payment on a 5-year term, so they know that it's going to be paid off in 60 payments.
Mm-hmm.
Not only did they pay off those credit cards, their credit score went up like 40 to 50 points.
Yep.
And they have peace of mind knowing that it's going to be paid off in a significantly short amount of time.
Yep.
Now, when that happens, the credit score goes up. All that's going to do is qualify them for better options in the future. So, whether it be on the business side, personal side, whatever.
Yeah.
Now, the biggest thing, credit cards, if you charge them up and you don't pay them off on a monthly basis, like we were talking about earlier, they're designed to keep you in debt, right? So these types of loans are designed to get you out of debt. That's going to be the biggest difference.
Well, let's talk about that, right? So I think that's a huge point that you just made, is that when you have a credit card, there's compounding interest, right? So if you're just paying the minimums, there may be more going on that card in interest than what you're paying off.
Okay, so I don't have like a whiteboard, and obviously you can't see me. So you have to follow along with me because I'm going to break down how compound interest works.
Okay.
So there are a couple of different terms that they use, but generally speaking, with compound interest, and we're just going to use some easy numbers. So let's say your interest rate is 18% on a credit card.
Which is not abnormal either.
Correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
Usually it's going to be higher than that, especially if you do like a balance transfer. You're going to get 0% for the first 6 or 9 months. And then after that, it goes up to like 24 to 26%. That's how they can afford to do those 0% transfers.
Got it.
Not to mention that they have like 5% origination fees.
I was going to say there's a one-time fee, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So in the beginning, the fees were smaller and the terms were longer. And we're seeing that progressively the terms are getting shorter. So instead of like 18 months, 12 months, they're now like 6 months, 9 months. And instead of being 2 to 3% originations, it's 5% originations. So there's definitely a lot going on there. But to go back, how to figure out your compound interest. Let's say you have an 18% interest rate on a card. You take that number, you have to divide it by 365. That's going to give you what they call your average daily rate. So now that is going to be approximately 0.05%. So then what you do is you multiply that by the balance of the credit card every day. So let's just say on $10,000, that's going to be a $5 worth of interest that you gain every day. The difference is on these types of credit cards, what's going to happen is the balance goes from $10,000 to $10,005. On day 2, you get charged interest on the balance plus the interest that you made the day before. So if you take that out, let's say we extrapolate that number, multiply it by 30, that's going to be $150 worth of interest on the credit card that month.
Okay.
If your minimum payment, which is usually going to be 2% on the credit card, your minimum payment is $200 a month. So 3/4 of that payment is going straight to interest, and only a quarter of it, or $50, is going towards the balance. And so you can see. Go ahead.
Yeah. And that's taking into account, you're saying you didn't spend any money on that card that month.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that is one of those things where when you start taking a look at it and you really break the numbers down, that's why when people say it's going to take 30 years to pay it off, that's exactly how that takes that long. It's just one of those things that it's pretty, it's eye opener whenever you start doing the math on it.
Yep. So these numbers that I'm going to spit out are not exactly factual, right? But it's pretty close. So I want to say around 2008, 2009, when we had a lot of the regulatory financing acts that were put into place to protect consumers, right?
Mm-hmm.
People started, and like, listen, some people listening to this podcast probably don't remember that far back. That's fine, right? But something started happening with your credit card statements. Okay, they used to give you, or they give you today, like a breakdown. If you pay the minimum payment, let's say it was 10,000. If you pay the minimum payment, it could take you, I don't know, like 10 years or 15 years. And, if you owed 10,000, you'd wind up paying back something like 24 or 25,000, right? Over the lifetime of having that money out. It could be more. If you paid double the minimum payment, it was probably going to take you something along the lines of like 7 years, and you pay back like 17 or 18,000. And then if you paid, 3 times, and you'll see those boxes. If you don't believe me, look at any of your credit card bills and check that out. I wish I had one with us to go through it, but I don't, right? And I think a lot of people get themselves in a lot of trouble. Like, I can tell you, people that like to shop at certain stores, right? So you had the Victoria's Secret cards, you had the Macy's card, and it was some crazy interest rate. They gave you like a special there. During the special, you get all this free shit. Well, you got all this free shit because they just wanted you to use the card and get in debt and not pay it off, right? Because that's where they make their money. It's the truth. So
100%.
So the point is, these simple interest term loans, you can use to pay off. You could use to pay off all your credit cards, right? And another thing that we really haven't talked about is you can use them to start a business. It's a lot healthier than going and getting a bunch of credit cards at 0%. Yes, is it a little bit more money up front? Absolutely. Okay, actually, it's probably the same up front because it's the same process, but it's a lot better for your credit to do this. Like, we have a lot of people that want to start Amazon stores now, right? And they come in, they need between 35,000 and 100,000 to get the store up and going with inventory, with coaching and consulting. And, they go to you. And how long does it take you to get them approved?
I mean, I can usually have them approved within a day, right? So
Okay.
if they came to me, let's say tomorrow, and the day after that, like we would have rates, terms, approval dollar amounts, everything ready to go. And then just depends on how quick they are to react. I mean, usually we can get them funded, 3 to 5 business days after that. So it is a really quick turnaround time. And I think, I wanted to touch base on 2 things with you on, the 0% credit cards. Another thing that a lot of people don't realize is they artificially lower the minimum payment. When you're on 0%, on the credit cards, they only require a 1% of the balance be paid. That's the minimum payment.
Mm-hmm.
So what they do is they lull you into a comfortable, I'm only going to pay a little bit over that minimum. And then once that expires, it goes to either 2 or 3%. So you're talking about, if you don't have the ability to have that paid off within the time frame, you could double or triple your payments, which could definitely jeopardize, I'm pretty sure, almost anybody. It would definitely affect me if I was gonna, take out that much on credit cards. Another thing is that on the credit cards, like we said earlier, if the balances go up really high, that does lower your credit score, which is not going to allow you to be able to qualify for these, types of loans.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be, one of the biggest differences. But, to just circle back around, start to finish, we're talking 5 days, and we can have you, applied, funded, and you're ready to start your store or whatever business that you're looking to do.
So it's great for starting up businesses. It's great for Amazon. It's great for, I mean, we have a lot of coaches and consultants too that do the same thing, right? They have people want certain training, certain coaching. A lot of the coaches, there's a discount for paying up front, or they don't accept, monthly payments. And, how many people have we gotten into the program, using it to better themselves, to level up, which is what this podcast is all about.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, any given week, we're working with an average of 60 to 70 people. And we've been doing this for quite a while. So we're helping out a lot of people.
Nice. That's what this is about, right? Leveling up and helping people. Now,
Absolutely.
my next question is what for people that are thinking about this, what do you need to apply, and what's the minimum criteria?
So minimum criteria is going to be about, I would recommend like a 660 plus credit score, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would recommend having your income, it has to be provable income, right? And I would recommend anything above $45,000 per year.
Okay.
If you don't make that, then what we can do is we can always get a co-applicant.
Mm-hmm.
They have to meet the same criteria. But if your total income combined is going to be above 60,000, that's going to help you qualify.
Nice.
Right? Yeah, and to be honest with you, I mean, those are the basics that you need. All you need to do is just, you don't need any major documentation in the very beginning. We just need to go by,
So it's the one
stated in the very beginning.
It's the one-page application, right?
Correct.
And then we do a soft credit pull, so no one's credit's going to get hurt by what we're doing. And what are some of the documents they need at closing? Like, how do they prove income?
So if they're a W-2 employee, they're going to need a pay stub. I would recommend something within the last 30 days. Generally speaking, driver's license, like a color copy of that, front and back, potentially a bank statement, and a voided check. Basically where the funds are going to get deposited. It does have to go into a personal account, and the applicant has to be on that account. So
Got it.
Yeah.
That's easy though. I mean, that's not hard.
Simple, yeah.
You can open up a new account in, an hour, not even 15 minutes.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's go back to more about this good debt versus bad debt, because a lot of people get this stuff confused. Investing in yourself, I think if you invest in the right programs with the right coaches, I've never seen a higher return on investment personally, right? I've invested a lot of money over the years with Apex and with Arete, and I have made that investment back multiple times over. Now, is every coach, consultant, or training the same? Absolutely not. So you got to do your research, right? Is starting a business easy? Absolutely not. That's why a lot of people don't do it. You have to find the right business for you, what you care about, what you think is going to be successful. However, investing in yourself is always good debt. Investing in a home is always good debt. Investing in a vehicle that's going to help you make more money as a business owner is good. Any type of business equipment is good. Marketing is good, right? Inventory these are all investments into your business or into your person. That's good. What's not good debt? I think luxury items are probably, I would not say those are good investments. And again, this is just me and you, spitballing here.
Right.
What else would you say would be bad debt as opposed
anything that's a depreciating asset? And I hate to say it because probably a lot of people are gonna be mad at me, but I would say like water sports items, like
like a jet. Hey, wait, I my jet ski was actually a decent investment. I made more on it, but I have to agree. Water sport items, a boat, I can personally attest, a boat is a horrible investment.
It's an investment in fun.
Yeah.
However,
for
financially
sure.
speaking, if you're not capable of handling it, I think it, because it's going to obviously a depreciating asset.
Well, it's also a money pit, right? Like I can attest to that. And and my boat's newer, and I don't, I take care of it, and I can tell you that it is absolutely a money pit.
So, when I say depreciating asset, because I know that even like with a tractor or implement equipment, stuff like that, yeah, those depreciate as well, but they're still making you money if you're using it to make money. So that's the difference there.
Absolutely.
Um,
That's
like,
a good thing to clarify, right? If you go
yeah.
out and buy a Mustang, and I say this because I know Ryan's got a Mustang, right? You buy a Mustang because you really like a Mustang. If it's not helping your business, it's not. I would consider that, borderline. It's not the best debt, right?
It's bad debt. You are correct.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. A lot of people mess this up though. A lot, and here's the other thing, guys. If no one's sitting here telling you not to use credit cards. You should use credit cards, but make sure whatever you put on there, you can pay it off at the end of the month. And if you can't, eventually that's going to catch up, creep up, or really hurt you. And we see it every single day. So if you can't do it, you might want to get a simple interest term loan, pay it all off, let your credit go up. Because here's the other thing that people don't talk about. If you have a lot of that bad debt, your credit comes down. And then when you do need something, if you go to buy a house, the difference between buying a house with a 720 credit and a 620 credit is pretty massive, right? And that interest rate's going to cost you the rest of your life, or until you get better credit and refinance it into, cheaper terms.
Absolutely. It's funny that touching back on the credit cards, with balances. I can't tell you how many of the small business owners that I work with that always they just come back and say, "Hey, listen, I've my credit card balances are high because this is my business and I've been relying on my personal credit to take care of things." And we do everything we can to help them out and try and rearrange that credit and take it from bad debt and put it into good debt, help bump the credit score up. And then eventually, they're going to be able to qualify for better things, like you said, and get a better interest rate and, ultimately save themselves money.
Yeah. And there's a lot of things as a business owner that, people don't know, don't go on your credit. Like the right type of line of credit doesn't go on your credit, right? Equipment financing, for the most part, it gets reported to business credit, not personal credit. You don't want to tie up. And here's the other thing for business owners. You don't want to tie up a lot of the business expenses or business debt into personal debt. The reason being is, one, it will lower your credit score, and two, when you need to buy things like a home or a car, and they see that, it hurts what's called your debt to income ratio. And we'll have credit experts on the show, I'm sure, because I think that will add a lot of value. But when your debt to income's high, okay, that means if you make 100,000 and a year, that's roughly $8,300 a month. If your expenses or your minimum payments are at 5,000, you're almost 60-70% debt to income. And what that does is it almost makes you not approvable for anything, right?
Yeah. It's funny that you say that, because what I find interesting is that when they go off of the DTI, and I don't know if a lot of people realize this or not, they use your gross income, right? Which is funny because we don't have access to that gross income because the government has access to about at least 30% of it. So, anytime your DTI goes above 50%, as you said, you're going to get hard to get approved.
Got it. And that can impact everything that you do. So, I think having this taken care of, doing it the right way, and understanding what your people's options are is tremendous. And anytime you can make an investment that is going to pay for itself, and when I mean pay for itself, cover the debt payment and make money on top of that, that's good debt. Using debt to buy luxury items or things that, like you said, are going to depreciate, that's bad debt. And you have to, if you want to continuously level up, earn more money, have higher income, these are some of the things that you just have to do and have to know. So, Ryan, you got anything else to add, bud?
I think we covered pretty much everything that I wanted to cover today. And I'm pretty sure that we'll probably have a follow up because I'm sure that we're going to get a lot of questions. That's usually what happens.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Brian, thanks for coming on. Guys, appreciate you listening. If you got any type of value out of this, what I want you to do is share it, send it to a friend that needs to hear it. We're here to help, and I thought it was important for people to know what their options are, know how to finance things. If you're a coach, consultant, or you have a business opportunity that's going to help people, we're here to help, and we can make that happen for you. And also to a lot of the listeners that, want to increase their credit, want to understand good debt versus bad debt, because good debt will allow you to build wealth. Bad debt will keep you down and hold you back your entire life. All right, so take care. We'll see you on the next one.
Thanks for tuning in to Creating Success Out of Failure. Please share this with someone that needs to hear it, post it on social media, and leave us a 5-star review. I'll catch you on the next one.